We're deep into May. Springtime is at full hilt. It seems like there is an endless parade of new vegetables popping out of the ground on any given day. One of the fun challenges of cooking through the seasons and within a given cultural lens on this channel is that it allows me to look at both vegetables and cuisine in ways I've not thought of or tried before. But I'll be honest, the sheer number of ingredients common to the Indian pantry can be as daunting to me as they are fun to work with. Seeds and spices and aromatics are often so deeply layered and intricate that I can struggle to find a single star to shine in any given dish. Contrast that with spring, where the vegetables can so often be young and delicate that it makes them hard to stand out in a crowd. This yellow dal is an exercise in trying to solve that problem. Layers can be so important to cooking in general, but that's especially true in my understanding of Indian cuisine. So I decided to lean into that idea further in this dish, rather than trying to make something spare and restrained with these young spring vegetables. Layer 1 is seeds and spices. I heat 2 tablespoons of coconut oil in a hot pan and add half a teaspoon of cumin seeds. Let those fry for about 30 seconds and then add half a teaspoon of cardamom powder and half a teaspoon of turmeric powder and a small dash of hing, and then let that bloom as it fries in the hot oil. Layer 2 are the aromatics. Here, I'm using some freshly chopped ginger as well as the white part of some ramps, aka wild leeks. Ramps are obsessed over every year, in part because they can be both hard to find, they're wild and foraged, and also have an incredibly short growing season every spring. First they're there, and then like that, they're gone until next year. They have a pungent garlicky onion flavor and taste amazing. For heat, I'm also using a serrano chili sliced in half lengthwise and just adding it straight into the pan. This is a super helpful approach to controlling the spiciness of any simmered dish. Just keep tasting your food, and once you hit the right level of heat for you, you can just remove the chili. Layer 3 is the dal. I'm using Moong Dal here, which is a split, dehusked yellow mung bean and a type of lentils. It's relatively mild in flavor, a little nutty, not too peppery, and gets super creamy. Typically, I'm making dal in a tall-sided saucepan, but since I decided to make just a half cup of dried lentils here, I'm treating this like a risotto and using a saute pan instead. I let the kernels fry for about 30 seconds in the spiced oil before I start adding water. From here, it's a game of simmer, stir, wait, and water. A wider saute pan means the liquid is going to evaporate during the cook process, so the recipe in the description reflects that. I think I ended up using about 6 cups of water to just half a cup of lentils. Ultimately though, whenever I'm cooking dal or risotto or whatever, I'm just adding water until it's finished. For Moong Dal, the texture will soften up and the individual grains will eventually melt into the thick and creamy porridge of sorts. This cooked for just shy of an hour before I salted it to taste and pulled it off the heat. Layer 4 is the green layer. All the green parts of the ramps get chopped up and put straight into the hot dal. Ramps are a little bit punchy when raw, but also pretty amazing. So adding the ramp greens just now lets them stay sharp, but the residual heat in the lentils cooks off just a little bit of that edge. These flavor the whole dal very quickly with a background note of fresh, garlicky umami springtime. Next, I prepare some asparagus by chopping them into thick coins and seasoning them with salt. Let those sit to cure for about 5 minutes and chop up some herbs. First some fresh parsley, then some fresh dill. Then it's time to plate this up. Down goes a thick layer of dal. Then the asparagus, then the herbs. And that's my yellow spring dal. So did I solve my problem? Did the spring greens get overwhelmed by the spices and aromatics in the dal? This worked. After just the first 3 layers, the dal is delicious in its own right, but the slow simmered quality of all those mingled flavors still allows for enough room for something more. The fresh green ramps at the very end are not exactly all that delicate, but they are immediately evocative of spring. They help integrate the asparagus and herbs into a cohesive dish where they're front and center, foisted up by that spice of dal. I'm glad to have this layering tool in my toolbox. There's always plenty more for me to figure out. I'm going to keep workshopping strategies and techniques that I hope will allow me to give Indian cuisine and spring vegetables their due expression beyond a tasty bowl of dal. Until then, a tasty bowl of dal will do the trick just about every time. Subscribe or stick around to check out what's coming next. My next video is for basmati bread. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to see you next time. Bye now.